Welcome back. It's a brand new season of CGL.
This is just an absolute treat. These players are so damn good.
The talent on these teams is undeniable. Everybody on every team right now is making plays.
It's going to be an exciting start to the season, and it'll just get better from here on out.
We're about to step to a whole new era of Overwatch esports. So much exciting action is happening here on CGL that you not want to miss.
Look who's starting it all off. It's Raven. No one necessarily figure out what is the right way to go just yet.
What a nice roll through him. He's just gonna solidify everything for Mythos.
Does come back, and Arsario gets the mech, but I don't need a mech. I'll kill 4 anyway.
This is just a highlight reel for Arsario right now.
They're making a statement in the EU Masters here.
This patch is still incredibly fresh. There's so much to learn, so much to change about the way we play the game.
SKC, but the shatter is colossal.
Let's get it going.
Trades keep coming through. Laura, is he gonna be able to find these shots true?
Idu on the overclock with 2.
Here comes the Nanoblade immediately to the back, like fine skills, slicing and dicing their way through 2-3, so back and forth.
We have crowned our Season 14 champions. We've crowned our off-season GOATS champions. Now it's time to move forward into the future of CGL Dex. Season 15 is here, and man, there is a lot to talk about as we get ready to head into our very first match of the season.
Yeah, we start off with a great one in the EU Masters tier as Damage Inc. Mythic will take on Coconuts of Victory here, Fletch. And you talked about Season 14 in the past. These teams, every team actually starts today 0-0.
Yeah, looks like Dex is a little bit iced up there, but yep, he was right as he left there. All teams, every single team, whether they're returning champions or new teams that were made this offseason, starting off there at 0-0. Welcome back, Dex. It happens, but yeah, you are absolutely right. Everybody at parity right now. There are no front runners. There are no teams lagging behind. And you know what, Dex? Why don't you, why don't you take us through some of the, quickly through some of the changes that are coming through here for Season 15?
Well, much like what is going on in the main sport here of OWC, as there are a lot of new changes here. Hero bans are a part of Season 15 here. I believe we've also gotten rid of Clash as well. So as we go through every series, you will get a little bit of a glimpse at those changes being implemented here through all the tiers. But Fletch, I mean, only one series right now. We do have another one tonight where we'll be going across the pond back to where me and you hail or call home. Well, you'll see the Ventral Platypuses take on a school not that far away from me at the SCAD B Sports Black.
Yep, SCAD, a returning team there in the NA side, looking to build on what they did last season. Should be a lot of fun, but like you said, we've got one match in front of us right now, and that is Damage Inc. Mythic versus Coconuts of Victory. Now, we will get ready to... I'm excited. This is the first time we're doing this in CGL. We've got our hero bans here coming up. First, going to be banning is Damage Inc. Mythic, waiting to see what they are going to ban here for map number 1. Of course, we've got some new gadgets that we can play around with, right? So you're gonna see here.
Yeah. So I mean, Fletch,
Hi, chat.
Yep. So everyone, we do have access to a telestrator, which means at points during this series or anytime, we could write on the screen and give us, or at least be able to, point you in certain directions here. But I mean, hero bans coming in, you see it at OWCS level. Normally, a lot of times, people try to get rid of something strong on the other side. Sometimes you see bans come out to really, they use it as essentially just a save kind of pick where they throw away a ban, say like a Doomfist, so they can make sure that the hazard is still available here. But, as we come in here, Damage Inc. Mythic has decided for our first ban here. It seems like I thought we already knew it coming into this, but yep, there
No,
we
we
are.
did know.
Yeah, there we
Our
are.
first ban, yeah.
Banning out the ball. And for our first map, this doesn't necessarily surprise me, going with it being, I believe, Lijiang Tower, that the ball is being banned out here. This kind of, in my opinion, is one of those bans you throw out there to try to protect something like the Hazard, even the Malga at times, from still being able to be used here.
Yeah, I mean, I don't think we even know what. Wait, yeah, we do. There's definitely a set map pool, and I just don't know it. For the first map here for week 1, it's going to be Lijiang Tower. So, like, I wouldn't be surprised if, we saw the Malga. Of course, we're still under the reign of King Hazard, of course, and now we're just going to be waiting here for the Coconuts of Victory's ban. This is, a lower tier. We are in the Masters tier, so I wouldn't be surprised if we are going to see, some more niche pocket picks, but that normal DPS line here is going to be the Sojourn Genji with the Kiri Lucio backline. I'm not sure that we're going to see those be picked here. I mean, especially if they do choose to bring out like the Malga or the Reinhardt, which of course, this is Europe, this is Masters tier. Reinhardt is a possibility, right? So there's a couple of choices here. You don't have to go hard meta if you're just more comfortable on something else in these lower tiers.
Yeah, but even though this is the lower tier, this is still master tier players. So they have a good understanding of the game. They have a good understanding of mechanics as well. So a lot of the times, probably the bans are coming out for good reasons. And knowing that and saying that, the Coconuts of Victory have decided to ban out the Tracer. And Fletch, I mean, going into a map like Lijiang Tower here, Tracer still does find a lot of strong points to really, play around, especially if you're running these kind of dive compositions, especially with something like a Malga. But now that you get rid of the Tracer, I mean, you're seeing that, next evolution of Genji kind of coming back up into the spotlight, taking over the spot of the Tracer, and in my opinion, has a little bit more of a scary ultimate. Doesn't necessarily need to find kills, but it just needs to be able to find or get some stuff out from the other team.
As I said, first map here in our series going to be Lijiang Tower. So, I mean, if anywhere you are going to see these, pocket rush comps that are, not technically in the meta, Lijiang Tower would be the place to do it. It's Lijiang Tower, man. There's not much I can say about Lijiang Tower that we haven't already said. It is the quintessential rush map as we get a look at our lineups for the first time. Mazurk, Sin, Nox, Backpack, and Myloot for damaging Mythic, and Bubs, Vortex, Bipolar Bear, Faeline, and Becky for Coconuts of Victory. I'm interested to see what these teams are going to be rolling out with. Bipolar Bear did say that, their favorite hero, clearly the Wrecking Balls. So that's not going to be in play here for map number 1. So we'll just have to wait and see as we get ready to head into the first map here very, very soon.
Yeah, and you kind of touched on it a little bit here, Fletch. Lijiang Tower, it's everyone's favorite map, or at least everyone's favorite control map. It's been in the game since the start of it, all the way back in 2016. A lot of people know this map through and through. So it's kind of a good warm-up map, and I call it that for a good reason. It is just a great map where both these teams come in, figure out how the other team wants to play into it, and then progress as that map goes on here. But yeah, you brought up a good point right there. The ball being the favorite kind of composition here for Coconuts of Victory. So I potentially thought that could have been, a ban to save the Malga, save the Hazard, but no, this might be a strategic ban pick coming out there from Damage Mythic here. So it might be really, really smart. And as you see them coming out of the gate, Coconuts of Victory, gonna stick with, a little bit of a pokey, just not as mobile of a poke tank there with Winston on the other side. Damage Inc. Mythic, You see them hovering over the hazard at the moment, and we talked about no Tracer. Genji will kind of fill that spot. Sojourn has been the next most popular DPS character outside of that there, and you brought up Fletch, you even talked about it. That backline for Coconuts Victory, the one he talked about, and Damage Inc. Mythic making that swap as well. Would have been really interesting to see that Ana come out from the other side, but no, going with the Kiriko, I like it a little bit better. Gives you a little bit more healing, and that Suzu still very, very powerful at the moment.
All right, Season 15 starts here on Lijiang Tower Garden. We're going to start with Nox diving on to Bubs, who will end up using that slide to escape the grasp of that hazard, as the rest of Damage Inc. Mythic have decided to go ahead and flip the map. You see that Vortex is putting some pressure on that backline, and there will be a trade. Backpack for Becky, continuing to trade 2 for 2 here. Bipolar Bear trying to find something, gets the jump away. First flip gonna come through for Coconuts of Victory, but still a 3 versus 3. Bipolar Bear needs to live, but cannot do that. And it will be a hard disengage for the rest of the Coconuts of Victories. As Damage Inc. Mythic gonna grab the first flip here.
And that's exactly what Damage Inc. Mythic wanted to do there. Their composition is kind of built to survive throughout these fights a little bit longer because they have this hazard here. Hazard, and the block ability is still insane to see. Coconuts of Victory, if they're going to win a team fight, they have to win it very early on. The longer a fight goes on, the more in favor it's going to be for Damage Inc. Mythic here.
Well, that is an excellent start. Vortex and Bipolar Bear getting to work. 2 players already down for Damage Inc. Mythic, and exactly what you said, a quick fight, quick win.
Yep. Get the characters out that matter the most early on. They picked out 2 good right there. Backpack and Miser, getting rid of them very early on. Got rid of a lot of the damage, a lot of the healing as well. Nox did what they could to stall at that point, but 29% is all they get here. Hurry, look at the ultimates now coming up here. Bob's about to have theirs, but outside of that, Myloot on the other side is the next closest ultimate here. So we could be seeing something where that beat comes online for Damage Inc. Mythic, and they immediately pop it, trying to play fast because they know that as the fight goes on, it will help them. But if they get a good start into it, hey, it's going to help them out even more.
Oh my goodness. They're just pressing their issue constantly. Myloot already dead. 2 more meet their fate here, and right now, Coconuts of Victory are just absolutely controlling the pace of play.
Yeah, and I mean, they're showing why you can kind of get around this hazard a little bit here. And now, a good part about that fight, no one really used any ultimates for either side, so Coconuts of Victory, over 50% now, probably be at around 65, 70% by the time Damage Inc. comes back in. You're going to have 4 or 5 ultimates ready to go. Damage Inc. gonna kind of be lagging behind. We'll have some ultimates, won't have all of them though, so that blade early on from Vortex could be big here, but no, it's gonna be the Consuming Rush first.
Wow, early kit rush, and very lucky for Myloot to get that sound barrier down. Now Dragon Blade's out from both sides, but right now Sin is the one playing with House Money, only to grab Vortex there, unfortunately, and it will be a couple of well-timed ultimates as Sin continues to work, but gonna go meet the Koi Fish, and that may very well do it here for map sub-map 1.
I mean, Backpack could use that Consuming Rush, try to speed them to point, but then you lose all the value there. You still have Overclock and Primal Rage here for Coconuts of Victory, and you see him come out.
Downpour going to be blocked by the bubble there. Now Primal Rage from Bipolar Bear. A trade, though, as Bipolar Bear gets to work with these juggles. Flip does end up coming through for Damage Inc., but their health pools are not looking the best right now. They're falling one after the other. Nox does return to the fight from the outside as Bubs just popping shots out, trying to find one of these kills somewhere. Backpack not able to get that swift step away, as Damage Inc. Mythic will end up falling here. As Coconuts of Victory, they're going to grab their flip, and they're going to grab the round.
I don't think Damage Inc. Mythic's going to be able to get back in time, and they played that first point there perfectly, in my opinion. They only lost one team fight, and that's because they kind of played into Damage Inc.'s Mythic kind of play style there. Remember, I said Damage Inc. wants to try to have the fight drag on. Take a pick or two here and there, and then go in, and it worked out for them only in one fight. After that, you saw that speed come out there. From Coconuts of Victory. They really didn't allow Damage Inc. Mythic to get set up or feel really comfortable in any situation, and you saw them there. They kind of seemed on edge at times, all over the place, and just not necessarily finding a lot of value there with those ultimates. But one player I really want to highlight there for Coconuts of Victory was Bubs. You were talking about a lot when Sin popped their blade, but Bubs found 3 kills that fight on their own, still holding on to an overclock that helped them out in the long run, being able to hold it there for that final engagement, which, I mean, I don't think it led to any kills, but still, having that ultimate online does apply some pressure. But now we see the mirrors from both sides here. Sim TP coming up from Damage Inc. They want to get in fast because they realized that was a problem for them last point.
All right, here we go now. That mirror, we'll see if it's going to work out here as Sin continue to try and put the damage into Bipolar Bear. Nothing coming out in the way of kills just yet as Nox tries to get active here. Going to throw up that guard, the spike guard. Not going to find a whole lot, but some damage. But there is the dive onto the backline once more. Neither team, though, has a Sojourn. However, Coconuts of Victory still control the numbers game right now as Becky is just absolutely hitting the rollouts, helping out with the dive, and Coconuts will be able to grab the first flip here.
And get a huge stagger there on the Nox as well to kind of end that there. Becky has to back out now, but you love having a Lucio that's confident like that, knowing they're going to be able to get into the backline, or hell, just pressure someone out on the other side and be able to get out safely here. Damage Inc., they do have that Juno, which could play a vital part here into any kind of engagement, but you need to have the Juno that time and space to really find the most value. You cannot allow them to be getting dived on like they are right now.
Bipolar Bear is the one getting active here right now, but just way too deep in. It was a great wall by Nox there as Mythic tries to find something there, but helped to take down by Becky there. There will be an abundance of healing and damage here for Damage Inc. as they take their flip.
Yeah, and honestly, that all started off the fact that they were able to get rid of Bipolar Bear, force Coconuts of Victory to kind of give up that point right there. 38%, not the worst. You were hoping for a little bit better, but Bipolar Bear put themselves into a spot where they could just not escape, and Damage Inc. made them pay. But now Ultimate's coming online here. Damage Inc. actually does have a couple huge ones coming up here. Same, though, could be said for Coconuts of Victory, who, again, are about to have all 5 here relatively soon. Damage Inc., the DPS line, still lagging behind.
All right, well, here is the Kitsune rush out from Failing Vortex. A little bit low, had to play safe there, but Bubs again taking over at the back end of this fight. It will be another fight win here for the Coconuts as they will stagger out Mythic just a little bit.
Damage Inc. will take the lead here only for a brief second, and Coconuts of Victory won that fight there, only investing in the Kitsune rush. They still have 4 other ultimates to go. However, Damage Inc. has all 5 of their ultimates ready to go here. Mythic kind of still lagging behind a little bit, but if you're Damage Inc., you need something here fast. That Orbital Ray from Backpack might be necessarily what you need to kind of push the edge a little bit, but you have to deal with a downpour first.
Oh, and Mythic locked down into the ground there by the downpour from Bipolar Bear. That's unfortunate. It's Coconuts, that was a pretty quick fight win.
Yeah, 2-for-2 trade with ultimates going each way. Bipolar Bear, I think, picking up 4 kills in that, or 3 kills in that fight. Vortex found 2 with the blade. You're really happy with that if you're Coconuts of Victory here. You still have a beat, you still have an overclock. But if you're Damage Inc. now, you have to look at it like this. You have 3 ultimates. That Orbital Ray is going to be the biggest one here now. Do you pair it with the blade? Do you pair it with the overclock? Overclock's out for Mythic, but there's not going to be anything there to save them.
Yeah, that is just a tragedy. Dragon Blade and overclock both countered by the sound barrier, and this Orbital Ray is useless, Dex. It just was so far away from the point, and with Nox being the last man standing, there's just nothing that Damage Inc. can do as Coconuts of Victory will coast to a very easy win here on Lijiang Tower.
And they made the swap from the Winston to the Hazard here on this second point, and man, did it look good for them as well. I mean, you could talk about how Damage Inc. Mythic there kind of struggled into a lot of the fights. It seemed like the speed, the tempo that Coconuts of Victory wants to play with was really forcing them to be on their toes, and not in a good way. They were struggling at times, and you just saw it there throughout that entire map. And the only times where really Damage Inc. Mythic really won fights was when there were some mistakes coming out there from Coconuts of Victory. We could look at the only fight they really won on Control Center was where Backpack maybe overextended too far, put themselves into a situation where they couldn't escape, and then the first fight back on Lijiang Tower, where they kind of just fell into that trap of the Hazard just being able to live through everything and just whittling down everyone else on the other side. They learned quickly. That's something you need to do here in this season very early on.
Yeah, I mean... whether it was the Hazard or the Winston, Bipolar Bear was kind of living just for free. I agree. It was such a good performance by just about everybody on Coconuts. It was a very dominant map, really. There were only 3 or 4 fights total that Coconuts of Victory ended up losing, which, they've got a very experienced main tank, right? I mean, Bipolar Bear, formerly of Plate Group, a champion of this EU Masters tier at one point in the past. They've got experience right now, and Damage Inc. Mythic, not as much. Yeah, and you saw it there, the composure, the strength of confidence for this Coconuts roster, right? So now as we get ready to head into map number 2, barring the bans coming through, this is still going to be a map that I think favors Coconuts of Victory's playstyle.
Yeah, absolutely, and it kind of does already coming into it with it being Blizzard World here, and interesting to see us going to Blizzard World, considering that actually no, this is already set, so Blizzard World was going to be this map pick no matter what. So it's just interesting to see balls back in play now here for Damage Inc. Mythic, because I believe they were the ones that said that they were the no, actually that was Coconuts of Victory who said that they like to play the ball instead. So it's gonna be really interesting to see, because we could easily just say that Damage Inc. Mythic was kind of playing what they wanted to play, and they just kind of looked lost the entire time here. But Fletch, as we head in here, I mean, the band is gonna be very important for Damage Inc. Mythic here. You want to make the right one. You don't necessarily want to, get kind of lost here. Going based off kind of what we saw on that first map, what do you think we see banned here? Do we see potentially a hero specifically a ban, so they force a player to play something else, or do we see basically a ban throw so you can protect a player or a hero?
I mean, really what I'm thinking is that you've got to ban something. I think the unfortunate thing for Damage Inc. is that whether they ban, the Winston or the Hazard, right? Because this is what I'm thinking that Coconuts of Victory are going to want to play. I mean, even if you knock out the Hazard, they're still strong on the Winston, and if you knock out the Winston, they looked excellent on the Hazard. But Damage Inc. Mythic are going to ban neither of them, opting to ban the Sojourn here, which I don't think is an awful pick, because they were getting a little bit outclassed on that Sojourn on map number 1. So, now as, Sojourn gets banned, it could change up that DPS line a little bit. Tracer, of course, cannot be banned anymore.
Tracer
so
cannot
that one will be back in play. But I'm thinking, as a replacement, maybe the Ashe or, a Cassidy, to replace that Sojourn. So now we are just going to be waiting here for what Coconuts of Victory are going to choose to ban.
Yeah, and you talk about there, the Ashe and Cassie are definitely two that you could really expect to see. Echo might also be a possibility. Soldier as well, maybe one here. But now as you go over to Coconuts of Victory, you have kind of a question like, where do you go here with the ban? Because it seemed like you had a good idea of how Damage Inc. Mythic really wanted to play. So you might be, banning something else. So it's, you can't be banned again here, or you're just trying to make it a little bit difficult for that other side to really necessarily think about where you want to go. And it seems like they decided they're just going to straight up ban out the D.Va here. And this is an interesting ban, in my opinion, Fletch, considering that neither of these teams play D.Va that first map. Instead, we saw Winston come out there for Coconuts of Victory, and then Hazard come out for both at times. You never saw anything else besides those two, but you do kind of see a reasoning here why the D.Va would come in, especially with the high grounds of that first and second point. D.Va can be a very critical player or hero to get up there fast and get back down to the lower ground just as fast.
Yeah, I think that is true. I think at the end of the day, Coconuts really didn't have any heroes that they wanted to ban for this map, though. I think that this is ending up going to be not even a strategic ban, just a throwaway ban, because they banned second, right? It would have been a little bit more impactful, if they had banned first and gotten that tank ban out of the way. I think that this is just a case of Coconuts don't really have anything that they want to ban, so they're going to ban the Diva, get it out of the way. So with that Diva ban coming through, I think it's pretty clear. Well, I guess I can't say that it's very clear what they're going to do, you know, because they did show us 2 excellent looks on the dive with the Hazard with the Winston. My question is, you know, what are they going to replace that Sojourn with, right? We're going to see a very, very traditional backline here and a traditional dive comp in general from Damage Inc. Mythic. Very, very interesting without that Sojourn in play. And Coconuts of Victory will do basically exactly what I expected them to do. Bring out Bubs. Their hit scan going to be playing the Ashe here on Blizzard World. So it's going to be, you know, 2 different versions of a dive comp, way more hard dive for Damage Inc. Mythic with that, you know, on a Brig, the Genji Tracer, while Coconuts of Victory will allow Bub to free shoot.
Yeah, I mean, if Bub can get set up, Ashe can be incredibly difficult to slow down. Looks like they're going to try for a pop shot here first and then probably swap right back over. But Damage Inc. Wow. Inc. Mythic, kind of like you said, their entire composition, in my opinion, kind of revolves around Mazurk and Sin basically following up Nox here on dives to try to clean up kills and clean up kills fast. That was something they really struggled on. Last map was finding something early on. Coconuts of Victory was a more aggressive team, and it worked out for them almost every time. And you're seeing that already very early on.
Well, here we go, getting active here. The hard dive comp having to play very sheltered, very safe. They look nervous to let this dive get onto their backline. Now we will get going as Bipolar Bear actually the first one to fall here. So a very good, you know, defensive play there. You know, I made it sound like it was a bad play. It was not there, as they're going to shove Coconuts of Victory away.
And it was a very interesting play from Coconuts of Victory as well, because Damage Inc. Mythic kind of just backed up into the building there where that roller coaster is. Coconuts of Victory could have tried to rotate that back to point and force them to come out, and they're going to try to do it again here right now. Bubs, though, I mean, has to deal with Sin.
Yep, Sin, yeah, going to be able to drop Bubs very, very quickly with the help of Mazurk. It will be another very strong win here, as Damage Inc. Mythic is making me eat my words on this defensive play.
They're playing it smart. They're just playing it smart here. I mean, the Ana really does force everyone on Coconuts of Victory to be very, very cautious of, you know, going deep into that backline. Same thing with the Brig there as well. And we talk about a lot with that backline there. Very, very hard to kill. They're basically attached to the hip at all times. The moment you can kill them is when they separate just for a brief moment here. But Sin and Mazurk are also doing a good job just getting up a lot of damage on that ground level.
Well, there is the nano boost onto Nox. Going to go back and help Sin out with this Tracer. That nano boost will end up fading away. Now Nox bailing back to try and help with this Genji in the backline. Lucio getting very, very low. Trades out from either side. Primal Rage for Nox will be able to keep themselves well in this fight. A little bit of juggle out onto that Lucio, but without that quick step, Phaelin will not be able to weather the storm here. Need to be able to take down Becky, will do just that. Vortex trying to keep it active here. Mazurk getting cut down by the Dragon Blade, and now trying to catch up to Sin. Vortex keeping the fight alive for Coconuts of Victory.
Bubs had pop-off plays on the first map. Vortex with a huge pop-off play right there. The Blade, I thought was a very questionable option there for them. It seemed like they just need to back up, but no, the Blade keeps them alive. Hell, gets them the first point there, essentially for free. And now you look at Coconuts of Victory, almost 4 ultimates ready to go here. They can be very aggressive going into this start of push here. 2.2, especially with only a Blade and a rally on the other side. That's not necessarily a lot you need to worry about.
Beautiful play there, catching Sin out of position. Now the Primal Rage comes through. The jump's not coming through very easily. Allows Mylu to build back up to that whip shot, knock the Winston back. Needs some help there for Mylu, but Bipolar Bear is anteed up. Beautiful there by Backpack supports, supporting each other as Mylu gets active here, helping up to kill that third, as Damage Inc. Mythic will be able to take that fight win with some beautiful support play.
Yeah, absolutely. Backpack and Mylu did a good job there just keeping themselves alive. Like I said, Those two supports attached at the hip. The only time you can really try to take them out is if they ever do separate. And there was a moment there where Myloot was a little bit away from Backpack, but a huge Bionade kept them alive and made sure Polar Bear was going back to the spawn here. Support ultimate's ready for Coconuts of Victory here. You could use that Continuing Rush early. They've done that in the past, but looks like they want to beat instead.
Oh, okay. Yeah, the pulse bomb, just marginally ugly there, unfortunately for Mythic, but Sound Barrier would have nullified it anyway, so going to see this Kitsune Rush out from Failing. Unfortunately, Becky the first to fall here. There's a Nano Boost from Backpack to Nox, and 2 shots from Backpack onto that Tracer, having to force Bub away. Now Nox, as that Nano Boost fades away, does have the Primal Rage, but will not even need it as they're going to jump on Vortex out of position once again, and they will shove Coconuts of Victory away there.
And right now, very early on, you're starting to see what this Sojourn ban is there for. It's really slowing down Bubs, and you're seeing Coconuts of Victory not have that one-shot potential with the Railgun that they found a lot of value with on Lijiang Tower. They were really hoping for Bubs and Vortex to really kind of collapse in on someone just to try to open something up. That's been one big difference so far this map. Coconuts of Victory haven't been able to take fights early on. They did that a lot last map. Damage Inc. Mythic, though, a huge improvement from the last map to this one so far. They have a Primal Rage ready to go. Whoa, and Vortex off to the lower stratosphere.
Vortex, where you at, bud? Unfortunate there, as Coconuts of Victory just have to play safe here.
Yeah, I mean, you don't plan for your Genji to go to lower orbit, but sometimes it just happens. However, you look at Coconuts of Victory here. They're about to have 3 ultimates here, the tank and the 2 DPS ones. Damage Inc. Mythic really only has the Primal Rage here, so Coconuts of Victory in a really good spot right now. You really can't invest all 3, and the Pulse Bomb's already out and missing their mark.
Speaking of Primal Rage here, Nox going to throw that one out. Mythic, though, down and buried here as Becky will knock the supports off of the high ground, and Vortex antied up, but it will not end up being a problem as Vortex is the problem. Good for 3 with the Dragon Blade. Beautiful for Coconuts.
They had a big Dragon Blade that win him the first point. That Dragon Blade right there might win him the second point, considering he had no ultimates ready at the moment for damaging Mythic, but if you're the supports, you're close to him, but you really invest him at a point like this. I mean, 27 seconds on the clock, you might just do it.
Yeah, forcing that recall out. There's the rally from Myloot, trying to keep them up, but going for a swim in the harbor here of Blizzard World. Another unfortunate pulse bomb there from Mythic. The Nano Boost will not find the value that it is looking for, but Sin comes back, gets active. Unfortunately, Deflect cannot do anything about Winston's Tesla Cannon, so it will be an objective capture with 90 seconds out on the clock for Coconuts of Victory.
Yeah, but if you're damaging Mythic there, after you lost both your supports, you're kind of just playing for stalls and maybe find a couple picks here and there, maybe turn the fight around, but it was going to be a very uphill battle for them there. Losing both your support ultimates, though, really does hurt you now, because you'll be lucky if you build up one of those by the time that Coconuts of Victory is, nearing the final point here. But you look at Coconuts of Victory, about to have a beat, about to have another Pulse Bomb. Pulse Bombs have been very quiet so far this entire series, maybe finding a kill here and there, but haven't been impactful. You're looking for something impactful here early on, but right now, that one was almost huge.
Yeah, certainly impactful. I mean, it is because it gives Bubs the opportunity to drop Nox here. So there is still a Winston in play for Coconuts of Victory that is not there for Damage Inc. Mythic, and you're going to see Bipolar Bear use that advantage to get up in the face in the spawn of Damage Inc. Mythic. Nox has returned, but Becky going to throw out that sound barrier, looking to keep the advantage pressed here. Now, Bubs bailing back. There is just annoying Mythic in the backline. Now, Dragon Blade pulled by Sin here. Going to use that Swift Step, failing, it gets away, but Myloot going to catch them on the tail end of that ability, and unfortunately for Bipolar Bear, going to do a pirouette, and with 10 seconds left, they need a miracle to even get a final touch here. Vortex and Bubs, last men standing, recall forced out of Bubs, lucky to get back to the point, will get the touch. Bipolar Bear last to come in. Failing does land a very nice headshot here, but without Primal Rage, Bipolar Bear now building up to it, still keeping it going, and Nox getting juggled. Mythic finally with an excellent pulse bomb. Bipolar Bear getting excessively low here without that Primal Rage. It will be a good fight win here for Coconuts of Victory. It's a 1v4 there. The Dragon Blade not going to find much as, very long, drawn-out, continuous touches there from Coconuts of Victory, but it will result in damaging Mythic's hold there on C.
Yeah, and give up. We didn't talk about it a lot there, but give it up to Mythic. Basically, remember when Nox died there very early on? They had to completely back up. Mythic kind of just stayed by the cart, not really allowing Coconuts of Victory to push it any further. Coconuts of Victory pushed up almost into the spawn for damaging Mythic there, and kind of hurt them. They needed at least one or two more people to kind of fall back and get rid of Mythic there, and it would have made it a little bit more interesting for them there, but Mythic did a great job just stalling out that cart for as long as they possibly could. Hell, they didn't die until the next team fight after that, so they stayed alive a lot longer than what they probably should have there. A great play there by Mythic, but Backpack and Myloot, they were really the standouts for me there for damaging Mythic, and like I said, it's playing that backline, that Brig on a backline. Incredibly difficult to kind of break through. You need to split them up, and you saw the one time that they really got split up. It was the one time they died. Yeah, there was a blade involved from Vortex. Again, Vortex popped off that round, just not able to there at the end. If you're damaging Mythic, you're considering bringing out that Juno here again. I understand it. Brig doesn't necessarily find the same amount of value you have on the attacking side, but it wouldn't surprise me if the Juno's just for a speed ring out, and then maybe back over to something like that Brig to basically keep Backpack alive, because playing the Juno and Ana, not necessarily the worst one, but you are kind of leaving your Ana as a little bit of a sitting duck, and we've seen what Coconuts of Victory has been able to do in the past when they're able to take someone out early.
Mythic, now the one trying to find that pot shot. Nothing going. Not able to get over the hump there, as Myloot actually with the torpedoes, they're able to drop Becky. Unfortunately, even with a nice little shot there on the Bipolar Bear, it will be a nice little defensive hold for Coconuts of Victory. Is I say that still getting active here is this Winston. This Bubs does end up taking down Sin, but now this is going to be very, very difficult for Coconuts of Victory. Bipolar Bear able to drop Myloot. That is the straw that broke the camel's back there. They will force Damage Inc. to bail.
And look, you see Backpack get off the Ana, go over to the Kiriko instead. Kind of with the Juno, you have to make that kind of move there. If you lose the first fight, I like that kind of swap there from them. But now, you look at Coconuts of Victory, able to stabilize there after really damaging, should have been able to get at least one tick there, but just not able to case just because Vortex was such a dominant presence there. Ooh. But hey, they got rid of Bipolar Bear early on here, Fletch.
Yeah, that is a worst case scenario here for Coconuts of Victory. No one to peel, no one to dive but Bubs and Vortex, and it's looking like they won't have Vortex for very much longer here. Vortex actually able to live for a lot longer than I would have expected them to. Does end up going down there to Sin, but Bipolar Bear has now returned to this fight, needs to go back, bail back to their supports, get the healing, will end up doing that. Bipolar Bear getting very, very low once again. Nox, though, will be the one to fall in that small skirmish there on the back of the point. Will force Mythic to back off, and it will be an 87.8% capture there for damaging before they leave.
Nox got a little bit too aggressive there. I don't blame them for making that move to try to follow up Bipolar Bear, because you know if you take them out, you win that point right there, and you're able to start pushing. But now you kind of put yourself behind the 8 balls here. Ultimate's about to come on for both sides here, and it's going to be a heavy invested ult fight from both here. But if you're damaging Mythic, that Orbital Ray should really help you out greatly. You just have to get it before Becky gets a beat, because that will allow Coconuts of Victory here to play aggressively into the Ray.
Oh, unfortunate for Bubs. Backpack got dramatically low there, like melee level low. Now we'll be able to get that Kitsune rush off, and there will be a Dragon Blade rush combo here. But I mean, with Vortex going down, it was a strong start for Bipolar Bear. But as I say that, this is an excellent fight for Coconuts of Victory. They will take down Nox, and now there's only 60 seconds left.
3 ultimates invested there for Coconuts of Victory to hold on to, and hey, well worth it. Damage Inc., they're only going to have 2 coming in this year, and that Orbital Ray now becomes the most important ultimate on the field. Yeah, Vortex has a blade, Becky has a beat, and Mythic has a pulse bomb, but outside of the blades from Vortex, those other ones have kind of been hit or miss with their value here. 40 seconds left to go here. If you're Damage Inc. Mythic, you have to go fast. You have to try to guarantee yourself a second one if you end up losing this one.
Well, here is the orbital ray, and Vortex takes a shot. 16 HP into Dream, and the Dragon Blade sent to the Shadow Realm there by Mazurk. And that is everything that Coconuts of Victory had. The sound barrier, the Dragon Blade invested, thrown to the side. It will be Damage Inc. Mythic coming out on top of this fight. With 10 seconds left, they will take the point.
But if you're Coconuts of Victory, you're happy it took them that long, considering that, honestly, Damage Inc. Mythic should have been able to cap that point, maybe a fight or two before right there. But if you're Damage Inc. Mythic, hey, past in the past, keep moving forward. Now you have a Pulse Bomb ready to go here. Coconuts of Victory really has nothing. Each side kind of lagging behind now in ults because they were such a heavy invested ult fight in the previous engagement. So these are going to be 2 dry fights, and if you're Damage Inc. Mythic, that's not how you want to start it.
Yeah, I mean, Sin just way too deep in there. Unfortunately, Mazurk has to use a recall here, as the rest of Damage Inc. Mythic will just jockey for positioning. Pulse Bomb ready to go for Mazurk. You know, has started to find a little bit more value here as of late, looking to take down Bubs. 32 HP will just be able to escape, but Bipolar Bear with that Tesla Cannon, not even going to really have to aim to get that kill, as it will be Damage Inc. Mythic being pushed back into Swan.
And we've seen this before with Coconuts of Victory, being very aggressive into holding choke points. You can go back to Control Center of Lijiang Tower. They basically held Damage Inc. Mythic for a very, very long time. And the only reason they had to fall back was because Bipolar Bear just put themselves into a spot where they just could not escape. Now, you look at the ultimates for both sides. About to have 3 ready for Damage Mythic, about to have 3, 4 ready for Coconuts of Victory here. So you're looking at, again, a little bit of a heavy ult invested fight, and Pauline starting it off the same way they almost start off every fight. A Kitsune Rush.
Kitsune rush out from Phaeline. Backpack, could throw one out of their own, but the priority right now is just to live. We'll be able to weather that storm. Primal Rage in from Nox, going to find a couple of juggles. Now only a minute left, and they have yet to move through this choke here. 3! The hat trick Pulse Bomb for Bob's Coconuts of Victory will continue to roll.
Fletch, I don't think you understand how big that Pulse Bomb was. For the cost of 1 Pulse Bomb, yeah, you found 3 people, but you also got rid of 3 ultimates. Mazurk, Nox, and Backpack all used their ultimates right there. Damage Inc. Mythic so far behind the 8-ball now. They're not even on the pool table, Fletch. They're on the bar still. Coconuts of Victory in prime position now. Sin, you need this play to be huge, but the beat from the other side is not going to be enough.
Well, I mean, it could find something if they can get rid of this Kiriko, but Swift Step will be met by Mazurk here. Vortex, though, gets the trade onto Backpack. They're going to be able to dive here onto Becky, take down that Lucio. The fight going the way of Damage Inc. Mythic here. Finally, not even really needing much in the way of ults here, but they are in overtime. Desperate times now for Damage Inc.
11th hour. I mean, we're at this point again. No ultimates for either side, so we're looking at a dry fight. Coconuts of Victory won it last time because they're able to find a huge early pick, and they were able to hold that choke point for that entire time. You look at the ultimates, though. You see the Pulse Bomb and the Kitsune Rush almost ready or halfway there for Coconuts of Victory. The Pulse Bomb is really the closest thing that Damage Inc. has at the moment. You're going to need to find something here early on if you're Damage Inc. You really can't leave the cart. You don't want to do that very early on.
Yeah, a sharp breath there for Bipolar Bear, able to jump away, escape, and the cleanse already out. That is a tragic place to use that, because when they get off the point, God damn it!
Can't even make it a game, man.
Okay,
but like this was the turning point for this entire map right here. This Pulse Bomb got rid of 3, but you have to remember
it wasn't even a stick.
No, it stuck to Nox, who got booped back
Okay.
into Sin and Myloot there. That Pulse Bomb took care of 3 people who had just used their ultimates, putting them so far behind the 8-ball. I mean, Damage Inc. Mythic, they made it interesting there at the end, being able to win, but it's again going back to what we were kind of seeing on Lijiang Tower. They're making small mistakes, kind of allowing Coconuts of Victory to determine the pace of play there. Coconuts of Victory wants to play fast. Damage Inc. Mythic, it seems like they kind of want to slow it down a little bit, but considering the composition that they're running, it doesn't really lead you to say, okay, we're going to play a little bit slower here. No, they never necessarily did that. They were always trying to play fast. They were splitting up maybe a little bit too much, allowing everyone on Coconuts of Victory to pick them off one by one by one. And hey, that doesn't count out some huge plays coming out there from Bubs, coming out there from Vortex. It was just a great map there for Coconuts of Victory.
Yeah, I mean, it was slow to start, right? But it doesn't ever matter how you start, right? It matters how you finish. And now the same has to be said about Damage Inc. Mythic. Down 2 maps, a reverse sweep necessary here. They looked better on map number 2, a marked improvement from their performance on Lijiang Tower. But as we head into our first break of the series, right? Damage Inc., they got to figure something out. They're going to get the first ban again in map number 2. They need to, they need to have something impactful. They banned the Sojourn. It got them, a little bit of momentum early. Now they need to figure something else out. So now we are going to cut to a short break. And when we come back, Damage Inc. Mythic will have to play for their lives here in week number 1.
Yo. Cash and the ticket is yours. 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 Yo. Cash and the ticket is yours. Yours.
All right, everybody, welcome back. Right now, it is Coconut's victory up 2-0 over Damage Inc. Mythic off of some admittedly very clutch performances there on map number 2. It was very, very close for most of Blizzard World, but man, Vortex and Bubs specifically, man, like that 3K Dragon Blade at the end of the first point on their attack, and then Bubs with a massive 3K pulse bomb at near the end of that map, just absolutely backbreaking. So now as we get ready to head into map number 3, Damaging Mythics has got to figure something out. We're going to Colosseo. We're going to get ready to ban.
Yeah, and I mean, coming into it here, we do have to say this. Damage Inc. Mythic, though, they looked a lot better on Blizzard World, but they were still making some mistakes that they were carrying over from Lijiang Tower. They're really allowing Coconuts of Victory to, just kind of control the kind of pace of everything here. They're being more aggressive, while we even talked about a little bit before break, while Damage Inc. Mythic, even on that dive composition where you kind of want to be able to, play a little bit faster, you're kind of playing slow, almost like you would rather be playing a poke comp here. But I mean, going into our third map now, it's going to be interesting to see what the heroes ban. I mean, Colosseo, it's kind of a toss-up map when it comes to push maps. In my opinion, you can see a lot of different stuff come out on this one because of the high grounds you have just before the first point on each side. You see something brawly come out here. But I mean, honestly, if you're Damage Inc. Mythic here, it's going to be interesting because I don't necessarily know if you want to go after a tank. Do you go after a DPS here? Because, I mean, they've been just both popping off. Or do you try to go after a support character here and maybe see if that's the way you go?
Yeah, I mean, the dive, I think this is where it loses its luster the most. I still think it's doable here on Colosseo. I don't know that Winston will be the best pick, I suppose, as we are going to see a hazard ban come out. So we'll get that guy out of here. Of course, Diva back in play, Sojourn back in play, and to the end of Sojourn here, I think we're certainly going to see Sojourn come back. We saw just how bad compared to Sojourn Ashe was last map. Ashe really just can't do what Sojourn can do most of the time. So I think Sojourn is definitely going to be in the rotation here. So now I'm curious, like there are a couple of, the only really impactful DPS ban would have been Sojourn, and you can't ban that anymore. So I think that they move over to support. You've got the Juno, the Kiri, the Lucio, even the Ana. If you want to, it's not going to be the Ana is probably the least likely out of these three for me. I don't think that one's going to come out. That would be a very, very targeted ban for a hard dive map, and that's just not where we're going. Of course, none of these other supports matter at all. So now, a couple seconds, we will have who we're going to. It will be Juno. So I think the backline for both of these teams is going to be that Kiri, that Lucio. But I think it's also going to end up being, a Winston or a Malga duel, really. I think Winston is probably the worst he'll be here on Coliseo, but that's not to say he's a bad pick at all.
Yeah.
So we will actually have our first substitution of the series here coming in here for Damaging Mythic as we get ready to head into map number 3.
Yeah, so our first sub of the season will be Nox stepping out on that tank role and Dark Room coming in, or my bad, Dark Doom coming in instead. And looking at what they like to kind of play, I mean, Reinhardt's their most played hero. It's going to be interesting, though. Do they play something more brawly? Do we see the Rein? Going back on that last ban, though, for Coconuts banning the Juno, we really haven't seen them play the Juno, so it's not much of a loss for them. Damage Inc. Mythic, on the other side, though, has played Juno and has played them here and there, not necessarily finding a lot of value with the Juno, at least, especially when it comes to ultimates. So kind of banning them out might, in a weird way, help out Damage Inc. Mythic here. Be able to help him kind of stick to that same support line here, because that Brig Ana looked very, very good for them. But like you kind of said, this is not the map really for them. And yeah, this is kind of what I expected. You want to play fast. You want to kind of play aggressively into this one here. So you see the Queen coming out here for Damage Inc. Mythic, and I honestly think that is a great pick for them. I think that will help them really, really sustain through a lot of fights, especially getting that little dot damage and, you know, health back from that. Bipolar, though, hovering the hog. Yeah, I'm going to say it's going to be a swap here. So even though, Fletch, you said that this wasn't necessarily the best map for Winston, I mean, Coconuts of Victory have been running it this entire series. Why not? If it's not broke, you really don't have to fix it, since Damage Inc. Mythic has really not been able to slow them down that much.
Yep, but I think this Junker Queen is an excellent, excellent matchup into that Winston now. Not a bad comp, just the weakest it'll be. So as we go in here, Bubs now, returning to that Sojourn, a quick and dirty headshot there on it to backpack, and without backpack in the game, Damaging Mythic will just hold their SBs.
Yeah, they kind of have to back up here. The Kiriko is their most healing they're going to get from that side, and they need to back up a little bit further here, because again, this is something we've touched on all series long. Coconuts of Victory, they like to play aggressive, and they're not going to really slow down.
Yeah, Bipolar Bear very lucky to live there, but Sin gets active, gets in, drops Bipolar Bear there, as it will be the second fight win here for Damaging Mythic. They will get their push rolling.
And this kind of goes back to the couple fights we saw Damage Inc. Mythic win back on Lijiang Tower, is when Bipolar Bear put themselves into a spot, but the knife there from Dark Doom, being able to pull them back after the jump, left them as a sitting duck, and will really help out Damage Inc. Mythic here. That has to be something that Bipolar Bear really has to watch out for here. Suzu invested early, so now Coconuts of Victory, they can play aggressively here for the next couple seconds if they wanted.
Short about 10 meters there for Damage Inc. Mythic. A little bit of Sniper Monkey action, but Bipolar Bear going to drop down off of the high ground. Now going to go back up to try and help out Vortex on the high ground. Lead growing for Coconuts of Victory. Bipolar Bear getting in, but the Swift Step, the cleanse, not going to come through in time for backpack there. And that will be Coconuts of Victory winning this fight, and more than likely this will get them the checkpoint.
I mean, it's going to get them a checkpoint, because my loot seemed like they just got stuck, not being able to wall ride out of there. Dark Doom gets taken out as well. So now, if you're Bipolar Bear, you can play aggressively. Hell, if you're following here, you could play incredibly aggressive and pop a Kitsune Rush basically towards the final point here if you want it. And they want to get rid of Sin early on. I mean, this is going back to what we kind of saw earlier from this Coconuts of Victory team. They love to play aggressive, and Damage Inc. Mythic just doesn't know how to really slow it down enough.
All right, here we go one more time. Now the Kitsune Rush out from Phaline. I mean, this is a total takeover here for Damage Inc. Mythic, and Bipolar Bear continues to press the issue. Gonna pop the Primal Rage. Not even necessary in that context of the fight, but will just be able to live.
Yeah, not necessary. You got the forward spawns, and you're starting to get the bot moving again. Damage Inc. Mythic, I mean, you look at what you have here. You have to be staring at this as a fight that you have to really win, or this entire series is slowly going to start to fall away. The Pulse Bomb not going to be able to stick there for Mythic, and now you're seeing the Kitsune Rush come out. You need to win this here.
All right, the Dragon Blade Kitsune Rush combo, always a very, very strong one, but that is not what you want to see there. Sin going down without finding another, and you need more. You need more from everybody here on Damage Inc. Mythic. The Rampage ready to go here for this Junker Queen, but I mean, Dark Doom will just fall over.
Yeah, it just, again, it just kind of feels like Damage Inc. Mythic is trying stuff, but it's just not really working out for them. Koken's a victory, holding on to 3 ultimates at the moment. Damage Inc. still holding on to 2 that they had to beat, and the Rampage might be enough, but you have Fallion right there. That can just cleanse out anything that comes from that Rampage, so you have to be very careful. The Blade and the Beat, though, out from Koken's a victory here.
All right, here we go. Sound barrier down from Becky. You know, not going to find a whole lot, but the Dragon Blade will not either. So, you know, still above the water here for Damage Mythic. But Bubs is just absolutely folding Berserk right now, time after time. Now popping the overclock. Gonna try and find someone here early. Now Rampage in on to Bubs. That, yeah, that tick damage will just be too much. But even dead, Bubs just finding picks onto the Damage Inc. DPS. Will it be a dive here, but should end up being a fight win for Damage Inc.
And we've said that in the past, but yeah, it should end up being one. All they have to do is get rid of Bipolar Bear, who is not going to just kind of throw away their ultimate this time. They're going to be able to just hold on to it here. And it looks like we're going to see a swap come out from Dark Doom. And it's going to be interesting to see what they really go to here. It's going to be just mirroring the Winston. I don't necessarily know if that's the best idea, but it might be the one that helps them out the most here. Koken's a victory, though, still holding on to 2 ultimates. That Kitsune Rush probably going to be used as the engage tool here, because they've been using those aggressively all series long. Backpack about to have theirs as ready to go as well. I don't know if they match it.
All right, here we go.
Oh.
I mean, Berserk just caught out of position, and Sin will meet the same fate as, yeah, this is just going to be a very, very tough map so far for Coconut's Victory, or for rather Damage Inc.
And Coconut's a victory. I mean, they're doing everything they need to do here. They've got the bot back in their control. They can push it up very little, back up, take a fight, push it up a little bit more. I mean, at this point, you can see the finish line. Hell, you can basically touch it if you're them, but you might have another fight or 2 here before you can actually do that, unless you find a huge pick here early on.
Yeah, Bubs, though, will be the first casualty. Needed that desperately, because Bubs is the one taking over the game right now, time after time. We'll be able to get that fight win. Great dive there from Damage Inc.
And Damage Inc., I mean, at this point, any team fight they win is a team fight they desperately need to win. 4 minutes, yeah, a lot of time, but when you look at that scoreboard up there, over, 110 meters, and they're not even really pushing the bot back, so a little bit of a mistake right there. But I mean, if you're Damage Inc. Mythic, you just invested 2 ultimates into that fight. Yeah, you found the value with them there. You're going to have 2 come up this one as well. You're still holding on to a Primal Rage. You have a Blade ready to go as well. Becky not that far away from beat, so Koken's a victory. They're in a good spot right now, especially with the Blade coming out.
My loot, it can build up very close to the sound barrier, but Backpack actually bailed back to try and help out, but ended up getting themselves killed instead.
You could have kited that Blade. It could have been something that just goes by the wayside as an ultimate that is just kind of used. It doesn't find anything, but you give Vortex all they need right there to clean up your backline. A huge mistake coming out there from Damage Inc. Mythic, and kind of add it to the list of like little things that they need to improve on in this season going into next week. Koken's a victory, back in control of the bot. 3 minutes on the clock. They're about to have, they saw the Primal Rage ready to go. Becky has the beat as well. If you're Damage Inc., you need to get something here early on, but that's been something very difficult for you to do all series long.
Great job taking down Vortex there early. A nice little dive, but Bubs now on the Tracer, able to drop Berserk again. It doesn't matter what character they are playing, but I mean, just absolutely fragging right now. And it's going to be desperation time as Coconut's a victory. Will actually gonna go ahead and bail out. Maybe? I'm not sure. Okay, they will finally bail out here in the end.
They're going to bail out, but I think in that moment right there, if you're Dark Doom, it might have been an opportunity. You had to use that Primal Rage right there. I understand why they're holding on to it here, especially for this next engagement. But, I mean, if you're Damage Inc., you have the ultimate advantage here at the moment. Yeah, there's about to be a Kitsune Rush ready from the other side. You know, Following's going to probably pop at the moment they get it. But now that they lose Vortex, I don't know if that's going to be the case anymore for them.
Well, we've seen time after time these Coconuts of Victory players able to take fight wins down a player, but now Bubs, Vortex gone together will be able to take the fight win here for Damage Inc. Mythic.
And right now, if you're Damage Inc. Mythic, just You have to do that over and over and over again. It's going to be very, very hard, especially as you get closer and closer to their spawn, but you have to take one person out early and just hope that Coconut's Victory will fall back. And hell, you're still now holding on to 4 ultimates. This is one of those fights where you probably invest 1 or 2 here.
Okay, sound barrier down from Myloot, but Sin is dead. Failing does meet the same fate. Great counter dive there from Dark Doom. Now going to pop that Primal Rage, going to take out a second. This Lucio trying to escape. Becky not going to be able to do it. Primal Rage catches up to them, and it will be damaging Mythic.
Myloot needs the backup right there. You don't want to get a little bit too aggressive there and end up taking yourself out and hurting your team. Less than a minute to go now. That lead is significantly smaller now, but if you're damaging Mythic, you absolutely love that last fight. You only used 2 ultimates, and now you have 2 ready to go for this fight.
All right, I mean, this is a great plan from damaging Mythic. If they can live here, this would be excellent, but Myloot body blocked by Bipolar Bear. That is just an absolute travesty here. Now, with 30 seconds on the clock, Coconuts of Victory don't need to push the bot back.
No, they don't. It looks like they're gonna, though. They will, but they could have left it there sitting. I understand why they're probably pushing it up a little bit. Don't want to have someone just sneak past you and get the forward spawns, but still, it would be very hard for them to do that. You have 3 ultimates coming online if you're damaging Mythic, and at this point, Fletch, you're using them because you have them. The time bank no longer on your side. You are just going all in at the moment.
Cannot allow this close spawn to go through for damaging Mythic, but they will, unfortunately. Sound barrier down from Becky. Coconuts of Victory just have the overwhelming advantage here in what could be the final fight. Dragon Blade pulled. Yeah, Sin goes down. Dark Doom goes off the map, and I mean, that's going to do it here for the series. Overwhelming victory for the Coconuts. They will move to 1-0 on the season. I mean, I'll be honest with you, Dex. Today, they were just the better team.
They were, and I mean, it was just the execution from them as well. We talked about it. They played aggressively, but it seemed like with how aggressively they were playing, everyone was on the same page. We saw a little bit from Damage Inc. Mythic where they want to play aggressive, but not everyone was on that same page. Slight mistakes as well really did help this Coconuts of Victory team propel themselves to victory, but a great start to the season for this squad. And hey, if you're Damage Inc. Mythic, this is only week 1 of a 8-week season here. You have a lot of time to improve and just fix up those small little mistakes that we were seeing here. And honestly, I mean, you could look back at their performance on map 2 of Blizzard World. It was a little bit closer. They looked like they were figuring it out. It was by far our closest map, but then you head over to this one here, and it just kind of seemed like they were back at stage 1 again, like how they were playing out on Lijiang Tower, just not able to really do a lot there. And honestly, when you look at the bans that we had here for this series, you really have to question, did that hazard ban on Colosseo affect Damage Inc. Mythic here any little bit? I understand why they probably did it in the first place, but like,
man,
like that,
that was something else I was gonna bring up if you didn't bring it up, because I mean, this hazard pick, Coconuts of Victory weren't playing it. They were committed to the Winston, right? And unfortunately for Damaging Mythic, they were just absolutely and thoroughly outclassed on the Winston. Start to finish by Polar Bear, gonna be one of the best Winstons that we have here in this EU Masters tier, has been for quite some time. You know, the time that they spent on Plate Group, you know, very, very great indicator of that fact. But you look elsewhere on this roster, Bubs and Vortex. Both of those players had constant fight after fight after fight after fight. And I'm going to tack one more fight onto the end of that, had these massive impact plays, right? Bubs, you know, I think of specifically constantly. You know, it's a stat that we don't really track in Overwatch. It's more of a tack shooter stat where you have actual rounds, right? But first bloods in fights, it was constantly Bubs. You know, almost, you know, 2 fights in a row, you know, 1 fight, you know, you may go down first, but then again, Bubs, 3 fights in a row, then maybe dies first. It's a cycle where Bubs, you know, maybe 60-70% of all fights that Coconuts of Victory won were won because Bubs got a first blood with the Sojourn, with the Tracer. That is an impact player, that is a player that you want to watch in this EU Masters tier.
Oh yeah, absolutely. That DPS line and that tank right there for Coconuts of Victory might be one of the scariest trios that will be in this tier. However, Fletch, we're going to throw it to a quick break, and then when we come back, we're going to be joined by one, maybe two players from Coconuts of Victory here for our winners interview.
All right, welcome back, everybody. We've got two interviewees here, and we had some very positive things to say about them near the end of our, near the break. Right, we've got Bubs and Vortex, the DPS line here of Coconuts of Victory. Bubs, Vortex, y'all get the very first win here of CGL Season 15. How y'all feeling?
Pretty good, pretty good.
Yeah, really good.
Yeah. Hey, it was an excellent performance for you guys. And, with all the new rules that are coming in this season, hero bans being implemented here, Clash being completely taken out, let's focus a little bit on hero bans here. As that kind of series went on there, it seemed like the hero bans never really affected you guys that much. Are when we're banning, or we're in that phase of banning, are you guys trying to strategically make those bans to really help you guys out, or to more hurt the other team?
Maybe to help ourselves. I think, personally, I play quite a lot of hitscan DPS, so I can flex to, obviously, a lot of them. Ash, Tracer, Cassidy. I think it's definitely to help ourselves.
Yeah, there was a lot of thinking that went into it, and we did like a lot of prep before scrims and stuff to decide like what we actually wanted to ban, rather than just coming in and trying to target ban things.
Yeah, absolutely, and we saw that throughout the entire series there, but let's focus on the gameplay now a little bit here. You guys were all over the place, making huge plays after huge plays, and a lot of that goes to your supports, a lot of that goes to your tank as well, making some incredible performances to really allow you guys that opportunity. What is it kind of like to kind of be around a tank player like that and that support line who just seemed to always be able to do whatever it was to make sure you guys could just pop off throughout the series?
Yeah, I'll let my captain answer that.
It's quite good. I mean, we have a really good Kiriko. I feel like I never die. I can free roam as much as I want. And having a tank that constantly is diving in and communicating, I think it's awesome. You really can't go wrong.
Yeah, I mean, it looked like. I mean, I'll be honest with you. It didn't look like y'all were, a team that got put together this off season, right? Y'all bring in this excellent tank from of Plate Group fame in Bipolar Bear. Absolutely locked in this season. Y'all looked great, but now as we get ready to send y'all away, Bubs, Vortex, are there anybody that you or anything you'd like to shout out, or anything that you'd like to bring up that maybe we didn't?
We love ICG. If ICG
Yeah.
wasn't behind all this, I think it would never have gone ahead. So a massive shout out to ICG.
We love our manager.
Yeah.
Yeah. Well, again, hey, thank you guys so much for taking some time out of your night to come do this one here. We will let you now go back and celebrate this victory with your team, especially starting off this season with the victory has to feel incredibly good. Again, that was Bubs and Vortex, that DPS line there from the Coconuts of Victory. Y'all, again, thank you so much and have a good night.
Same with you. Thank you.
All right, Fletch. I mean, Bubs and Vortex, like we kind of said, especially with that pairing there of the previous Plate Group tank, Bipolar Bear, seems to be a very, very scary kind of front line to run into. And they even talked about they have a tank that's communicating with them, especially with those two DPS players playing the characters that they play throughout this entire series. You saw the value in it there throughout.
Yeah, I mean, it was their first match, the Coconuts of Victory. Bring themselves in here to start the season. What, you didn't like your little outfit? Yeah, they bring themselves in to start this season very, very strong. They did not look like a new roster, like I said during the interview. I mean, that was as synergistic as you could ask for, right? Especially down here in the Masters tier, right? Where, they weren't exclusively playing the meta. They did a little bit with that Hazard on map number 1. But outside of that, it was all dive all the time, letting Bubs free shoot on the Sojourn. Start to finish, that was as clean of a dive as you could ask for, right? Masters tier be damned, right? They looked, maybe the mechanics aren't, as top tier as you'd find in the open tier, right? But we're not in the open tier, right? We are talking about a composition, right, in dive, that if you are running it well in the lower tiers, right, it is so hard to deal with, right? I mean, the DPS of Tracer and Genji, or Genji and Sojourn even, when they're locked in and actually playing well with a Winston and they are synergized together, someone's exploding.
Yeah.
Right? And we saw that quite a few times where, either Bubs found a headshot onto someone like Mazurk, or the dive came through from Vortex and Bipolar Bear. They just eviscerate someone. And moving forward for Coconuts of Victory, I think that's got to be something that, their opponents are going to have to watch out for, because their dive comp is going to be a nightmare to go against in the Masters tier.
Yeah, absolutely. And considering this is only week 1, there's still a lot of opportunity for them to get better with it here. I mean, like you said, a team that was formed before this season, comprised of a lot of players from other teams. It doesn't look like any of them have necessarily ever been on the same team, but they seem like a cohesive unit very early on, and that is scary. But as this season goes on here, especially after the midseason tournament, you really have to start looking at it as a thing of where everyone's going to start to figure them out a little bit. How do they improve from here? So that's going to be something that we're going to have to watch for this Coconuts of Victory squad. On the other hand, Damage Inc. Mythic, we talked about a little bit before we went to break the last time. It seems like they have an idea of how they want to play. It's just not all there yet. They want to play dive, they want to play fast, but at the same times they want to play a little bit slower with it, try to punish the other team diving onto them. It just didn't end up working out for them. I think this Damage Inc. Mythic team will be able to improve a lot from week 1 to week 2. But will it be enough to help them find a victory? I think it might, but they do necessarily need to work on their communication a little bit, because you could see at times there it was a little bit lacking.
Yeah. And my last point to that end is that, like what we saw with Coconuts of Victory's dive compositions, they towed the line very, very well between aggressive and reckless. That was a little bit bigger of a problem that, Damaging Mythic was definitely leaning more towards the reckless side, right? They were getting punished for overextension, whether it was Genji or Winston or Tracer. It happened to damn near everybody at some point on Damaging Mythic, where they got caught out of position, overextended by themselves. That's something that, with proper practice, proper VOD review, it's fixable.
Yeah.
It's not the easiest thing to fix. Positioning takes time to learn and understand, but it's fixable. So for Damaging Mythic, you've got to hit the VODs. You've got to shore up those mistakes. And the glimpses that we saw on Blizzard World make me think that Damaging Mythic can be more than what we saw today. So now, as we get ready to bring our first match, like not even just stream match, just first match of the season, right? As we get ready to bring this first match of the season to a close, Dex, is there anything else that you'd like to say before we head out?
No, this was a strong showing, but Fletch, even though this series might be over, there is still going to be one more match that is streamed here today on CGL. We'll be going back over to the NA region to see the Vengeful Platypuses take on the SCAD B Sports Black Squad, 8 p.m. Eastern here. Actually, no, that's 10 p.m. Eastern, my bad. Here in the U.S. That's going to be a really fun series to watch, in my opinion. SCAD B Sports Black, one of the collegiate teams here in CGL. Love to see them in. And Vengeful Platypus, we've seen a lot of that Vengeful squad last season, and they are always bringing scary teams.
Yep. So looking forward to that. And I'm gonna grammar police you there. It's platypus, not platypuses.
Yeah, I said that the second time.
And the plural of platypus is platypi. But yeah, should be an excellent matchup here coming up tonight. Turn on the notifications, get the pings from the Discord. The season just getting started. Going to be a lot of fun, a lot of Overwatch to be played here in CGL Season 15. It's exciting. Thank you all for watching. We'll see y'all tonight.